Okay, picture this. You build a piece of tech so absolutely mind-blowing that your very first instinct isn't to sell it, but to literally hide it away, right? Then, after 2 months of keeping it under lock and key, you finally figure out a way to release a quote-unquote safer version to the public. But it turns out your creation is so remarkably effective that the United States government steps in and completely kills it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the totally unprecedented and, honestly, deeply fascinating story of Claude Fable 5. We're looking at a tech company that built something incredible and the massive geopolitical shockwaves that followed.
3. That's it. Just 3 days. That is the exact number of days it took for the most capable public AI ever made to go completely dark on a global scale. I mean, in the fast-paced tech world we live in, a 3-day life cycle for a major flagship release is virtually unheard of. It didn't fade away over months or weeks. It vanished in just 72 hours.
And here's the crazy irony of the whole situation. Normally, when a huge tech product gets pulled from the market that fast, you'd immediately assume it was a complete disaster, right? Like a massive bug, some terrible data leak, servers literally melting down. But no. That is not what happened here. The US government intervened and shut this model down not because it broke, but because it worked too well. Its sheer, raw capability is exactly what triggered national security alarms.
Okay, let's dive into this. The benchmark numbers prove exactly why the government was so spooked. Just look at this massive leap in intelligence. So, on the absolute hardest coding problem benchmarks out there, the best models from the biggest competitors were hovering in the mid to high 50% range. Anthropic's own previous flagship, that was at 69%. Well, Fable 5 absolutely shattered that, scoring an astonishing 80%. In the AI space, you have to understand this isn't just some small incremental update, this is a massive, paradigm-shifting leap.
And the thing is, those abstract benchmark numbers translated instantly into mind-blowing real-world capabilities. Take the tech company Stripe, for example. They reported using Fable 5 to migrate an entire codebase in just one single day. To put that into perspective, a job of that massive scale normally takes a dedicated team of highly skilled developers months to complete. Fable 5 was literally doing months of complex cognitive work in hours.
Now, to understand how we actually got to that shutdown, we have to jump back a bit to April. This is when Anthropic created the raw underlying intelligence that they called Mythos. And unlike every other tech company out there begging users to try their shiny new AI, Anthropic made a pretty historical choice. They kept it a secret. They completely locked Mythos down, restricting access to just over 100 specific organizations spread across 15 countries. Why? Well, because the raw intelligence was genuinely dangerous. It was way too proficient in highly sensitive areas like cybersecurity, chemistry, and biology.
Which brings us right up to June 9th. Anthropic finally figured out a way to bring this tech to the public, and they released Fable 5. Now, Fable 5 was essentially the exact same raw, monster intelligence as Mythos, but they bottled it up with a super strict safety layer on top. Ask it to write complex code or plan a huge project, and it performs brilliantly. But if you tried to ask it high-risk questions about, say, cybersecurity, bioweapons, or dangerous chemistry, well, the safety layer would trigger. Fable 5 would quietly hand that dangerous prompt off to a much weaker, safer model called Claude Opus 48.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this sequence of events moved at breakneck speed. April, the raw Mythos model is secretly released to a select few. Then, June 9th, the safe Fable 5 launches to the world. Over the next couple of days, stories like that Stripe codebase migration start going viral. People are amazed. And then, on Friday evening Eastern Time, the hammer drops.
Anthropic receives a directive directly from the United States government. And look, this wasn't a polite suggestion or a request to maybe jump on a Zoom call. It was a direct order. The government officially invoked the National Security Export Control Authority to step in and intervene in the public use of this chatbot.
The exact mandate? Suspend access to both Fable 5 and Mythos for any foreign national, regardless of where they were physically located in the world. They even had to include Anthropic's own foreign employees. But you see, this created an absolutely impossible compliance issue for Anthropic. I mean, a tech company simply cannot reliably and instantly verify which user is a national and which is a foreign citizen in real time across millions of users. Unable to filter them out, Anthropic had absolutely no choice. To comply with the order, they had to just pull the plug for the entire world.
Now, we definitely have to look at this impartially because there's a really fascinating clash of perspectives happening here. To justify the shutdown, the government cited that someone essentially jailbroke Fable 5, bypassing those safety guardrails and unlocking that highly dangerous restricted Mythos core. Anthropic, however, pushed back pretty hard on this. They argued that this jailbreak was just a very narrow flaw unlocking only one specific area, definitely not a master key to the whole system. They also pointed out that this exact same trick reportedly works on rival models that, you guessed it, were not shut down. Basically, their argument is that you generally don't recall a massive product used by millions over one isolated flaw.
But actually, there's a much deeper twist here, a massive irony that perfectly explains why the government acted so swiftly. Anthropic kind of fell into a trap of their own making. See, for 2 solid years, Anthropic's entire marketing strategy and philosophy was to loudly, constantly frame AI as a severe national security threat. They were the ones constantly warning the world that these models could be incredibly dangerous, practically begging the government to take frontier AI seriously as a major threat.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole situation. One cybersecurity researcher summed up this backfire perfectly, saying, if you describe your product as a munition in every press release, eventually a government takes you at your word. Anthropic spent years intentionally building this safety-first high-threat-level narrative to stand out from their more reckless competitors, and well, the government simply listened to them and treated their product exactly like a weapon.
So the crucial point is that this goes way, way beyond just some corporate drama at Anthropic. Zooming out a bit, the shutdown of Fable 5 reveals 4 major macro-level implications for the future of the entire artificial intelligence industry. Let's break these down one by one because this fundamentally shifts the whole landscape.
Lesson 1 is all about weaponization. The very fact that a text-generating chatbot fell under the exact same export control rules used for things like missiles and advanced defense technology, that means the paradigm has totally shifted. Globally speaking, advanced AI is no longer just being treated as a helpful, everyday software tool. It's legally and practically being classified and regulated as a potentially dangerous weapon.
Lesson 2 focuses on governance. If there's one thing this story proves, it's that the speed of technological capability is drastically outrunning our deeply outdated regulatory rulebooks. When an AI can jump from a secret lab project to perfectly executing months of complex developer coding in mere minutes, well, government regulators simply cannot keep up with that. The technology is just moving at a completely unprecedented pace, and traditional governance is being left entirely in the dust.
Lesson 3 reveals a massive power shift regarding control. Look, up until this Friday evening shutdown, if an AI model was pulled from the public, it was always the company's own choice to do so. This event proves that tech companies no longer have ultimate control over how, when, or where they release their own products. The government has clearly shown it has the power to just step in and strictly prohibit public access, literally overnight.
And finally, Lesson 4 highlights what we call the safety tension. We are currently walking this impossible tightrope. On one hand, if you completely lock down these models, you severely stall human progress and innovation. But on the other hand, if you provide open, unfettered access to everyone, you risk some truly catastrophic misuse by careless or malicious users. This tension is completely unresolved, and the whole Fable 5 incident proves we absolutely haven't figured out that balance yet.
Now, Anthropic is out there assuring users that this is all just a big misunderstanding, and they're actively working with the government to restore access to Fable 5. But honestly, even if the model comes back online tomorrow, the genie is fully out of the bottle. A terrifying precedent has been set for the entire tech industry. Your product succeeding too well and being too capable can now directly trigger a federal shutdown.
This right here is what the absolute frontier of AI looks like right now. It isn't a science fiction movie, it's happening today. We have officially entered a high-stakes geopolitical race, which leaves us with the single most important question moving forward, a question that will undoubtedly define this next era of human history. As these models get smarter and more capable by the day, who will actually be allowed to use